What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Mark Roden, and yes, your eyes don't deceive you, buddy. We are back with a good, bad, and ugly, this time on the Mazda RX-7 FC3S. For those who are new to the channel, and there are a lot of you, I've been doing these good, bad, and uglies for quite some time, but I stopped doing them to start doing some more deep dives, and they're back. Long story short, they're back. Pretty much what they are, I will get into it and explain it in a minute, but pretty much what they are is a buyer's guide to whatever car that is. So this is the buyer's guide to the Mazda RX-7 FC3S, pretty much. If you guys want to support the channel any more than you already are, head on over to www.smoothstance.com/shop to pick yourself up a hat, shirt, or shorts. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Alright, so in case you're new here, the way that these good, bad, and uglies work is, first off, I go over the car itself, what it comes with, the body styles that it comes with, the trim levels, the engine, etc. Then I go into the typical mods that people do and whether or not it's a good idea for your build type and what people tend to do in terms of motorsports with it. And then I finally get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of the car, which are things that are obviously just good, bad, and then ugly. I give you my opinion on whether or not you should buy the car at the very end. And that's pretty much how this works. So, the Mazda RX-7 FC, let's talk about it. Well, it first flew onto the scene in 1985 and was a hit, obviously. By the way, we will only be talking about the North American market for these cars to make it a lot less confusing. And when it launched, it was called the Series 4. That was kind of like a chassis code, not really like a chassis code though, just kind of like what they called it. And it looked pretty decent, but the motor was something kind of wacky. It was a rotary still, a 1.2 liter, two-rotor rotary engine that only made 146 horsepower. It's not that great for a sports car. Mazda, I don't know what you're doing. But they also had a turbocharged model, and that one was called the Turbo 2. But instead of the number 2, it's 2 eyes. That one came with the exact same engine, except now it had a turbo. And that one managed to make 182 horsepower. Then, they decided to give the car a facelift, pretty much. They don't like calling it a facelift for some reason, but it's pretty much a facelift. And that managed to bump the naturally aspirated one up to 160 horsepower and the turbocharged one up to 200 horsepower, which is perfect. Just right there, perfect. By the way, the facelift model was now called the Series 5. Just letting you know. Every single model of FC RX-7 was only offered as rear-wheel drive. There is no front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive options available for it. And the only body styles you had were the convertible or coupe options. And to be honest, the FC RX-7 kind of pulls off the convertible look. I'm not going to lie. Not a lot of companies do that. They do. Now for the trim levels, where they're kind of all over the place. And to be honest with you, most of them don't change that much anyway. And the stuff that does change, it doesn't matter. So we're not going to go over all the trim levels. Some of them have the red interior, which is very cool, but not worth the extra cost in my opinion. And some of them literally just have a sunroof, and that's the only difference. So pretty much all you need to know is if it has a turbocharger or not, and if it's a Series 4 or not. It'll tell you right on the car. It'll tell you right on the title when you're trying to buy the car. Also, the FC RX-7 was offered as either automatic or manual, but you better be a man and take the freaking manual one. Now for the modifying world and what people tend to do with it when it comes to the modifications, buddy. Well, pretty much they're drift cars most of the time, which kind of sucks in a way because I do like drifting, but it kind of does suck for these cars because they're actually very well planted track cars as well. But sadly, what happened was these cars went through a bad drought where nobody really wanted one, and they became cheap as all hell. So then all the broke drift boys, that's not a roast by the way, I'm broke as well, came out and got their fingers all over the car, and now it's hard to find a clean FC RX-7 under $5,000. And it sucks because if we had been able to see these cars more on the track than drifting, it would have been so interesting because they are just such good drift platforms. They really are. I mean, I meant to say racing platforms. They actually are a good drifting platform too, don't get me wrong. And if you do want to drift it, I'm not judging you. I love drifting. I want a drift car too. But I just think that they're such good handling cars. But if you do get one, you can kind of do whatever you want with it, to be honest. They are just an all-around good platform in general. The engine bay is also large enough to swap an LS into it, so have a blast with that. Rally racing, it was the only thing that I would say is going to be a little bit hard because it's a low-slung rear-wheel drive sports car. So just go, if you're planning on doing that, I'd go with something else. But finally, we are into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the way this works, for anybody that's new here, is first I go over the good, which are things that are just great about the car and you can't deny are good things about the car. Then I go over the bad, which aren't actually bad. They're more of like a middle ground. It's kind of like a medium thing. I just like the phrase good, bad, and ugly. And then I go over the ugly, which are things that are just bad about the car. They're problems that you're going to have to address. But we're going to start with the good because I'm a handsome man, my mommy says. And the first thing on the good is the pop-up headlights. I know some loser out there will say that pop-up headlights aren't cool. And to that I say, you're wrong. They are cool. Next is the handling. It's truly something out of this world. They have one of the best handling cars of the 80s, hands down. It is amazing. Next is the engine-based base. It's actually pretty decent. You can have some fun with some swaps if you do buy the naturally aspirated one, or even if you buy the turbocharger one and you want to slap a turbo on it, you've got plenty of room to do that. You have a lot of room in the engine for some fun. Next is the wonderful sound that emits from this freaking heavenly rotary. Usually I put the sounds in the bad and just let people decide whether or not they think it's good, but I genuinely don't think it's possible to not enjoy this freaking wonderful sound of a rotary just spit and fire. So here's a clip. Next is the seats are apparently super comfortable actually, which kind of surprised me because it's a 90s sports car, but there you go. Yeah, a lot of people say that sitting in the stock seats is actually kind of comfortable. Next is the fact that they are rear wheel drive only. This can be bad if you live somewhere where winter is an issue, but were you going to drive a rotary year round anyways? I didn't think so. If you were, that was probably a bad decision. Next is the convertible options aren't horrendous. Most car makers absolutely destroy the convertible options of sports cars, so it's nice to see somebody that actually does it pretty well. I like the FC convertibles, so good job. And finally, for the good is the wonderful amount of aftermarket support to make this car your own. I love modifying cars, you probably love modifying cars, and so having a car that has modifications available for it is obviously a huge plus. Now we are into the bad though, and keep in mind that these aren't actually all bad. They're just kind of take it or leave it things, and it's up to you if it affects you or not. But right off the bat is the looks. It took me a while to think that they look good, so if that's you, just give it some time. I personally think the FC RX-7 looks amazing now, but when I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I was just like, what's so special about this? Nowadays though, I understand it, so just if you don't like it, the looks of it, it might just be a maturity thing, so just give it some time. Next is the interior space. It ain't that great, my son. It's just very tiny. If you're anything over 6 foot tall, you're gonna have some trouble, especially the back seats. If you you literally can't even fit like a toddler in the back seats. I'm not kidding about that. It is actually horrible in the back seats. They're so bad. Next though is the safety. Yes, I get it, it's a car from the 80s, but that doesn't make it more safe nowadays when every single car out there can crash at like 200 miles per hour and be fine. This thing will kill you if you get into an accident with the technology and how fast people are going in today's day and age. It's not that safe. Yes, it's safe for the 80s, but it's not safe for today. Next is the cheap plastic interior. It's just outdated. Like, did you expect an 80s car to have Mercedes levels of interior? Well, it doesn't. Sorry to break it to you. Next is the trunk space ain't really there, so hauling your tubas around may be an issue. You can put down the back seats, which I highly recommend because they're pretty much useless anyway. And you can fit a little bit more in there, but don't expect to be hauling around a lot of stuff. Next is the electrical components, even though there's very few of them, are a nightmare to work with apparently and cause lots of issues. This is literally every car that like first started to experimenting with electrical components. They all started to have issues. So if you're expecting to buy like an old 80s sports car, or any 80s car for that matter, expect to have some electrical issues. Next is the cup holders. I mean, come on, man. Where are the damn cup holders? How am I supposed to hold my freaking extra large Baja Blast with exactly 3 ice cubes for maximum cooling efficiency in there? Where am I going to put it? Mazda? Up my butthole? I could do that actually. Next is when you're going to buy one, it's super sketchy. They have all been just beaten up like freaking Conor McGregor, and people want way more than they're worth. So be careful if you're going to pick one of these cars up. They're not a gem. There's plenty of them out there. If you don't like what you're looking at, walk away. I just did it the other week and it was fine. My dog's barking. Sorry about that. And finally, for the bad is the countless little tedious problems that you may have with the car just because the car is old. I'm not saying that they have horrible components or that they're super unreliable and super bad and they're going to break on you. I am just saying that any car close to 40 years old, yes, it's close to 40 years old, is going to need lots of new parts constantly, so just get ready for that. Now on to the ugly, and there are only 2 really major ones, so that's actually kind of good. Some cars have more than this, some cars do have less than this though, but it's actually pretty good. Let's rip off the band-aid though and talk about the engine reliability. They just don't have it. I know someone is going to sit out there and be like, you just have to do more maintenance, bro. You just have to do a little bit more maintenance. Why? Are you afraid of doing maintenance to your car? Are you afraid of doing regular maintenance to your car? You're not a mechanic? No, that is precisely what makes it unreliable. You shouldn't have to do more maintenance in the first place. The engine, while it is very cool, is just way too unreliable. I love rotaries. My dream car is an FD RX-7, but rotaries are unreliable. They're unreliable. I don't care if you're going to sit here and say, well, no, you just have to like mix exactly the perfect concoction when filling up gas or else your whole car is going to explode on you. That's not that hard, dude. Yes, it is. A normal car doesn't do that. You buy a Camry, you can put freaking lemonade in the gas tank and you'll be all right. But anyway, the last thing for the ugly is the automatic transmissions. And even the manual transmission is actually kind of somewhat unreliable as well. Not as bad as the automatics though. The car is once again close to 40 years old. These things are going to not work properly anymore. So please get ready for some clutch slipping and grinding gears. So, do I, Marcus of the Rodent, think that you should buy an FC RX-7? Well, it all depends on what you're looking for. As a first car, I think it's honestly, and I mean this with the utmost respect, honestly one of the worst first cars you could choose. They are just too unreliable and not safe enough for a new mechanic. You're not going to have fun, I promise. If you find one with low enough miles, maybe, but at that point you're spending 10K on the car anyway, and just, it's not a great car. But as a fun little weekend car, if you already have a daily driver, this is a great choice that will definitely turn heads and you're going to have a blast driving it. I highly recommend, though, that you save your money and buy one that's in good condition already, because with a Honda, yes, you can get away with driving it with 200,000 miles and rust in every corner of the car. But on a rotary Mazda RX-7, 40-year-old sports car, that is going to be a death wish waiting to happen. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I do recommend these cars. I think they're a great, like I said, I think they're a great Sunday driver, and especially if you want to swap the motor. If you want to swap the motor, then there's really not that big of an issue at all. But as a first car, no, I don't think it's a good idea. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's good, bad, and ugly on the Mazda RX-7 FC. First of all, I am so sorry about my dog. My family started playing with him upstairs. They know that I'm recording, but you know, that's just how people are. You know, just how people are. No, I don't really care that much, but I hope you guys didn't care that much. I'm sorry about it. He just started barking. He's going crazy. I'm just sorry about it. But anyway, guys, let me know if you guys like the good, bad, and uglies. I know you used to, but they haven't been on the channel for a while, so I want to see if people still like them, if they still want them back. I'm still going to be doing the deep dives. I have so many video ideas. I want to do like reaction videos. I want to do a versus series, so I'll like pin two cars against each other and compare them. I want to do oh yeah, the underrated car. I've been doing those a little bit recently. I just did the one yesterday on BMWs. I want to keep doing those though. I want to keep doing those top 10 underrated cars. Obviously the budget cars are here to stay. I want to do more vlogs or in sort of like a build series. I want to do hanging out with my friends. There's another big one that I was thinking about doing, but I couldn't remember what oh yeah, like one car from every company. So I'll be like, you know, one car under 5K from every company out there, or I'll do like my favorite car from every company out there, or the fastest car from every company out there. I kind of wanted to do something along those lines too. So I have so many ideas, so just gotta stick with me here until I find something that you guys and I enjoy doing. It's so hard. I mean, the top 10 budget cars, I found that you guys like that. I like doing it. Those are staying. Good, bad, uglies are okay. Deep dives are okay. The Facebook Marketplace cars are okay, but I gotta find something that we both agree on. So I've just been trying to do that. So that's why the videos are like kind of all over the place and there's no like real schedule, because it's just taking me a while to like find exactly what I want to do and what you guys want to see as well. So but anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.